Welcome back, Geordies. It's Adam from Two for Joy with my match preview for Newcastle versus Manchester United. A bit late, I know. To start off with, thanks to everybody for getting involved in the chat, the likes and the subs. If you're new around here, make sure you get down there and drop me a sub. We're on the road to 1,000. Thanks to everybody here. We're going to start off by looking at the Premier League form table. Then we're going to have a look at what I believe will be Michael Carrick's starting lineup tonight, followed up by what I would like to see from Newcastle, then what I believe we will see from Eddie, and then a match prediction to follow. So, like, subscribe, get involved in the chat. Let's get into it. So guys, we're going to start off by looking at the form table in the Premier League, with obviously Manchester United sat in second, joint top with Manchester City over the last 6 games, only having drawn 1 out of the last 6 with 5 wins, 16 points out of 18. And the stats suggest there is a 0% chance that Manchester City don't score against Newcastle tonight. And Newcastle sat down in 19th with Spurs, the only team below us, having gained 3 points from a possible 18 in our last 6 games, and only a 17% chance of scoring this evening. And the only thing I will say for this is, at St James's, under the lights, Newcastle up against big teams, we always seem to turn up. And as we saw last night, Wolverhampton turning over Liverpool, anything is possible in the Premier League season. But I'll move on to Manchester United. What I believe Manchester United's Michael Carrick's predicted lineup will be: Lamans in goal, Dalot at right back, Maguire and Yoro in the centre-back positions, with Luke Shaw at left-back. This has been pretty much a staple for the games under Michael Carrick, but Maguire and Shaw are possible doubts due to sickness, in the same way that Jacob Ramsey and Nick Voltemade are. But this was reported 2 to 3 days ago, so it wouldn't surprise me if they start Maguire and Shaw tonight. Casemiro and Mainu in the middle in that kind of double pivot. And I'll be honest, these two look rock solid at the moment. Even Casemiro, as much as I hate to say it, I think, his legs are gone and he'll be moving on in the summer with that £350,000 a week paycheck. They'll be glad to see him go. But this front four kind of picks itself, with only one variation should they decide to drop Sesko. But Cunha, Fernandes and Mbeumo across that front three, with Sesko sat in front. And I believe Sesko will get the start tonight due to the form and due to his current scoring record. But the only possible change could possibly be Mbeumo playing as a 9 and Amad Diallo playing as right wing. But I think this is a pretty concrete... It's Michael Carrick's preferred side, and they will be a real challenge for our defensive line. And this is why I feel Cunha, Fernandes and Mbeumo is a really hard task for that kind of attacking midfield three, for our defensive block and our backline to cope with. And Sesko, I should imagine, will cause us all sorts of problems, whether he's up against Dan Burn, Sven Botman or Malik Chow. And then my predicted lineup, what I would like to see, and only because I don't think Eddie will change from Nick Pope, would be Nick Pope in goal, Trippier at right back, Chow and Botman in the middle as centre-backs. I think Dan Burn looked a bit too leggy in the last game, and I'm not sure he's up for the challenge. Plus, I think he might be nursing some sort of rib injury after Everton, with Beto smashing into him. Lewis Hall at left back, obviously. And then I would like to see us drop with a double pivot, and I don't think we will do this, but as a midfield, we need to hold a rigid defensive midfield with Joel Linton and Sandro Tonali, the two best players to do it, who are currently available, to kind of offer us some defensive structure to Cunha and Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. And then up front, or in this attacking setup, I'd like to see Ramsey try and get into that kind of advanced 8 to false 10-ish role and offer some creativity as an attacking midfielder. And I'd like to see Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon as our wingers, but I'd like to see them come inside the fullbacks rather than trying to go down the line and come round the outside. And I think we don't do this enough, and try and create this kind of little diamond in the centre, which gives us the opportunity for 3 runners when the ball gets pushed back to Ramsey, for Ramsey to pick a pass. And recently, Jacob Ramsey's form, he's got a good shot on him. He's got an eye for a pass. His control and his touch might let him down a little bit, but he can grow into this role if we give him the opportunity. And obviously, Nick Voltemade and Jacob Ramsey touch and go, but I would really like to see Nick Voltemade given the opportunity to play as the 9, at least for the first half. He has the ability, if you put these 3 guys around him, he has the ability to hold the ball and lay it off for other people to come in behind. And if you get these 3 as runners, when Nick does drop deep into that, from the 9 into that 10 space, it allows these 3 guys to run off of him. And that's where I think you could capitalise on Man United's defence, because Maguire doesn't have the pace. While he reads the game well, Maguire doesn't have the pace, but Nick Voltemade needs people close. He needs people around him to play these 1-2s, the short passes, and show some quick transitions to get in behind. And if you can get Harvey Barnes or Anthony Gordon on his right side, obviously, there's every chance with our capable finishing abilities that we can put a couple of goals away against Manchester United tonight. And then I think it will be a situation where we will have to play very counter-attacking football, because I don't think we're going to openly control a lot of possession against Manchester United in the form that they're in. And then just to have a quick look at some of our statistics, because I thought you guys might want to see this. Obviously, we're in poor form, as you can see from the top left, but we are averaging 1.43 goals per match scored and 1.50 goals per match conceded. And currently, we are sat 13th in the table, as as we full well know. But when we look at our home form, we're currently sat 12th in the league for home form. And this is the thing I find quite concerning, because Newcastle predominantly, even on the days under Mike Ashley, our home form was what carried us through. We've never been great away. We've always been a little bit up and down, but certainly under Eddie, St James's Park has always been a bit of a fortress. And there's teams, every team would say they don't like going to St James's Park. And I feel like we're losing that home fortress, and that is so important to our seasons. The only times we've ever qualified for Champions League, it's based off our home form. If you look at our away form, it's never been great, but our home form is what's carried us through. And then obviously, if you look at our away form, down in 16th, which is, it's a dire state of affairs when the only teams worse than us away are West Ham, Leeds, Burnley and Wolves. Obviously, three of those teams really in a relegation scrap, and it says a lot about us as a club at the moment, and how we move forward and what we plan to do in this summer. But I'll come to Eddie Howe's, what I believe Eddie Howe's predicted lineup will be tonight, with Nick Pope in goal, Kieran Trippier, Malik Chow, Dan Burn, Lewis Hall at left back. It's pretty much a straight, similar back four that we played the last few games. Sandro Tonali, Joel Linton and Ramsey. I think he'll switch back to Joel Linton tonight after what happened at Everton with Nick Voltemade playing midfield. And that's obviously touch and go with Ramsey on how well he's feeling. If not, I think he'll drop Joe Willock into that role. And then obviously I think he'll go with Harvey Barnes, Jacob Murphy and Anthony Gordon playing as the 9. And while this offers us a fair bit of pace and delivery up front, I don't really think this offers us much in the terms of chance creation, because predominantly what we see is this midfield, Joel Linton, Sandro Tonali and Jacob Ramsey. we will either push too high and on transition lose it, and our defence will be left at sixes and sevens with probably 4 of the most in-form attacking players bearing down on us at every opportunity. That's how Manchester United like to play, and they are a very quick transitional side. They can play off both fullbacks straight out to their forwards. They can also play through the middle with Mainu and Bruno Fernandes. So I think this will be a really tough night for us defensively. But as far as it goes going forward, if we do play this front line, and this is what I understand what Eddie's going for with the pace. He wants pace up front. He wants to get in behind. He wants to create chances. But if you put Barnes and Murphy to deliver to Anthony Gordon, this guy has one of the lowest aerial duels won in the Premier League. And I just don't think he offers us anything when we're whipping balls into the box. And the only way Anthony Gordon scores is if he gets the right side of a defender and manages to get a flick on, or he gets played in behind. And we don't play in through the lines enough. And Anthony Gordon positionally doesn't operate as a number 9 well enough. So I think this leaves us in a really sticky position. But what I would say, aside from the game tonight, I'll give you my match prediction. I think Newcastle will lose this. I think I'm going to go 3-1. It sounds a bit downbeat, but I just can't see us. I've got my fingers crossed. I want us to head in the right direction. I think, we really, in these next few games, we've got some really tough fixtures. So if ever there was a time that we need to pull together and scrape results, now is it. But I just can't see us getting the decisions tonight, plus playing one of the most informed teams in the Premier League, coming away with points. But what I would say, and this is my hot take for the moment, is that Manchester United, in the form they're in, should they finish in the Champions League at the end of this season, which it looks likely, with the run-in they've got, it looks likely that they will. With the commercial revenue they have, the financial backing they have, and the ability to offer big wages, I think there's a real worry for not only the Big Six or the current top 4 or previous top 4, but also the teams who are chasing that Champions League, like Newcastle, Aston Villa, and the kind of teams in that 5 to 8 position, that we are going to have one of the big clubs back as a mainstay in the Champions League with the money they can spend, with the wages they can offer. And if Michael Carrick will do what I think he will in the summer and buy sensibly, and by sensibly I mean players that will actually improve them for the long haul. There are teams around that space now with your Chelseas, your Villas, even your Liverpools, that should be worried that Manchester United may well come back straight into this mix next season, and that will make it very difficult for other clubs to achieve what we would like to achieve. And obviously we know this from one window of bad spending or not quite getting the signings to hit the ground running. Your form can be drastically changed. And what I would say is Manchester United look like they're in a position where things are finally going to be turned round for them. So, like I say, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know your match prediction or your score prediction for the game. Hopefully I'm wrong, guys. And I will see you in the next one.